What's up, everybody? Last episode we talked about irons. This week we are going to build the bag with some wedges. Let's go check them out. So with wedges, what you want to do first is you want to grab your final iron in your set. So for some people it's a gap wedge. For me, it is my pitching wedge. And so I want to grab that and I want to figure out the loft of it and try to maintain my lofts to be consistent. So 4 or 5 degrees worth of gapping there. But then the more important thing is you want to figure out how far you carry that club. So how far do I actually hit that, pitching wedge, and then figure out the gap levels that you want to get from there. So for me, I hit my pitching wedge about 130 or 120, right? 40, 30 on the 9. Yeah, 20. About 120. And so I need something that's going to go about 110 in my gap wedge. And so that's the first step, is figuring out your gapping and make sure you have those yardages filled, right? I make sure that I have 120 and then I'm all the way down to about 65 is what I want to test for with all my different clubs. Make sure that I have those ranges covered. Anything inside 65, it's probably going to be a 54 or a 58 degree. That's going to be, a little bit sawed off a little bit. So that's the first thing you want to do, is make sure that you have your gapping spaced out correctly. Make sure that you're covering every shot that you could possibly see on the course. What that looks like for me is that absolutely looks like more of a 50, 54, 58 setup. So my final wedge in my set, my final club, is going to be my pitching wedge, and it's at about 45 degrees. I could probably sneak and try to get away with something at 49, but it's, to be honest, kind of hard to find a 49 degree wedge. It's already hard enough to find a 50 because most people just kind of instinctively play a 52, 56, 60 setup. So I wanted to keep 4 or 5 degrees between mine. So I'm going to go with the 50 degree gap wedge, 54 degree sand wedge, 58 degree lob wedge. I've also played those lofts for 15 years now. Or no, more like 10 years now. 12, 10 years, something like that. I think I moved to those in 2012. So, and I just find I like having the 58 around the greens a little bit more than the 60. I tend to pop it up a little bit. If I do want to really get after one, I have a much better chance of getting after one and getting the distance I need out of the 58 rather than the 60. Kind of goes up in the air too much. So I like that setup. So those are the clubs that I bought to just kind of get us into everything and get started. And then from there, I can always tweak lofts. I can always bend things strong, bend things weak, and kind of move from there. Next step is, after you figure out kind of the lofts that you want, it's going to be very important that you figure out how you want to use the club. So take me, for instance. For me, a 50 degree is going to be almost exclusively a full swing club. It might do the occasional bump and run around the green if I got a lot of green to play with, or I need to really get it out rolling. I think the 50 degree, it does play that role, but I don't hit that shot a ton. So when I'm looking at that 50 degree gap wedge, what I'm really looking for is best full swing performance. Next wedge, I could probably go 55, but I'm going to go with 54. And how do I use the 54? How will I be using that 54 degree wedge? Well, how I always use it is with a nice little 3/4 half swing at about 75, 80 yards. Really get aggressive with it. Really come in a little bit steeper than I normally do. So when I'm thinking about it, I don't need as much greenside versatility with my 54 degree, right? I don't need it to be able to open up as much. I'll occasionally do it around the green with the 54, but to be honest, I want it to perform decently out of bunkers around the green. Typically, I'm using the 58 for that. But the 54 is going to kind of be an all-arounder, more half swing, 3/4 swings, and that kind of performance. So the grind that I'm going to need on that's going to be a little bit different. Finally, I'm going to look at my 58 degree. Now, my 58 degree, how do I use it? Think about this for yourself. How do you use your highest lofted wedge? For me, it hardly ever gets taken out of the bag for a full swing, a half swing, three-quarter swing. If I'm at about 50, 60 yards into the green, maybe I'll bring it out to do a little half shot with it. But really, I can kind of dial back the 54. But in that situation, I do want it to perform pretty well. But more important to me with the 58 is going to be the ability to open it up, the ability to get it to lay flat. I don't take a huge divot when I'm chipping, when I'm pitching. Big divots aren't necessarily my thing. So with the 58, I'm probably going to want something with a little bit lower bounce, something I can get to lay flat around the green that I can really open up and be aggressive with. So to talk about is going to be grinds on the wedges. Now, this can get really, really complicated when it comes to what you're looking for in a wedge. If you go to the Titleist website, or you go to the Callaway website, or you go to the Cleveland website, you go to any of these websites, what you find is that there's a lot of grind options, and they all got different names, they all do different things, and it can be very, very overwhelming for you. Now, there are a lot of great guides on your grinds that you can look at to help steer you in the right direction when it comes to the grind of the club. Me personally, I know with my 58, I want to open it up a little bit more, so I need a little bit more leading edge relief, things like that, lower bounce, things along that line. With my 54, I go after it a little bit more, less club making, opening faces, shutting faces, trying to do different things with it than on the 58. So with my 54, maybe a little bit more of a full grind, a middle grind, somewhere in there. I take very shallow divots. And when you take really shallow divots, grinds that have less bounce on them tend to do a little bit better. And then with the 50, I primarily use the 50 degrees, a full swing club. So currently, I play the CBX. Now, I'm also realizing I might hit that a little bit too high. And so I did get a traditional muscleback style wedge there. And who knows, maybe that'll open up some opportunities to do a little bit more around the green with that 50 degree. But the thing you want to do is you want to figure out your grinds and you want to figure out your bounce. Establish a baseline for a number that we're trying to gap to on the bottom end of the bag here. Okay. That one may go in. Okay. That one was a little toey, so it's gonna have no spin. Just take off on me. That can happen sometimes when you pull it a little bit. Ball speed goes up, spin goes down. Happens. Fat and toey. Gonna end up being okay though. Alright, so I took away those kind of odd flyers. The one that took off on me and the one that I damn near shanked. First thing I want to look at with pitching wedge is descent angle, right about 50, really good there. Spin feels a little low, but we're launching it super high. So, but the big thing we want to work towards is this carry number right here, okay? So what you'll see is I'm carrying on average about 122. So if I play it, to 120 and I set my, it's gonna be pretty good, right? We're gonna hit the numbers that we need to hit. So with the 50 degree, I'm gonna really try and find something that's more in that 110 range to make sure that the gapping is correct. There's a club that has actually been in the bag for a little bit, and it is the Zipcore CBX. Now, I kind of like it because with my 50 degree, I hit a lot of full shots rather than around the green, so I don't need that versatility of a blade, but I'm feeling like I'm hitting this too high, too spinny. So let's see how it does. See, that's the problem. It's just so short. And then I look at it, spins almost at 10,000. That's okay, I guess. But with a full spin, that's a lot of spin here. Or with a full swing, that's a lot of spin. And it really kind of shows. Now, if I really get after it, we're looking at 105. Still, what's the spin number on that? 85, 84, 84, 8500. It's not great. Ball speed's there. Everything looks good. It's just so spinny. Okay. Once again, 104, 105. So, I mean, it's consistent, right? Let's hit a few more. I mean, let's be honest. We're throwing darts. It would just be nice to have 5 more yards, right? If it carried 110, we wouldn't be having a discussion right now. Okay, pulled that one a little bit. It's coming back. Okay, 108. A little bit happier with that. That being said, I'm really having to get after it. Okay. Well, we almost hold that one, so to compete with that, we have the blade version of that club, the RTX 6 Zip Core 50 degree mid bounce sole. Great for full swings. Let's see how this one does. Oh, hold on. Okay, so to compete with the CBX, same brand, basically the blade version of it, the RTX 6 Zip Core, mid bounce sole. Let's see how it does. Same thing. That one sounded like it exploded off the face. 114. I just feel less in control. You sure? It's a good shot though. Okay, that one felt a little off the toe. Let's see what happens with it. 104. Okay. Oh, sometime. Okay. We look here, it's 50 CB, so that is the CBX. Average ball speed 85.3, about a mile difference between the MB and the CB. Carry though, or actually let's move over to spin. Launch, pretty close, about half a degree higher with the CBX, which is to be understood, it's a cavity back wedge. Spin though is where you see some crazy numbers. 79, 76, 75, 70, this 75, 96. That's a big number. You know, that's a really big number for a wedge. Now, you know how much I love my descent angles. 51, pretty close there. Offline, a bit less offline here, but you had more pulls here, so you got the 6.5 left. I mean, you look at the standard deviation and that kind of gives that away. 1.6 to 4.8. Now what I really want to look at is this number right here, this carry number. So when I see it, the CBX gets me pretty close to 110. It can get there. But these are what concern me with it. The 104 and the 103. You know, if I got 110 to the pin or to the middle and 120 off the back, right? I'm going to be pretty worried taking pitching wedge here. I'm going to want to take my 110 club. And for being honest, short, these could all be water shots here. Whereas with this, with the MB, you have this one here that was actually shorter than anything that they kind of produced with the CB. First swing with the club, I'll be honest, I had never swung this one before. I'm actually going to take this one out. Let's actually delete that one. Okay. 109 carry, 106. This gets me much closer to my 110 that I'm hoping to hit. And this 103, 104 comes up a lot less than it does with the CB. Now, one thing I like to do with the CBX is chip around the green with it. I can probably do that with the MB as well. I'll occasionally chip around the green with that CBX if I really am trying to do a bump and run, if I really have nothing in my way. I'll do that. But overall, looks like the MB is probably going to win this one. The closest shot, the closest one was definitely with the CB. 3 feet 8 inches from it, carried it 110, then rolled out to 111. Great shot there. You got this one here, 5'5", and then this one, that's a 7-foot putt. It's a pretty good shot there as well. But I just feel a little bit more comfortable that I'm going to be able to get the 110, and if I miss hit it, I'm probably still going to get the right number to at least get me to a green. So my microphone kind of cut off about halfway through this. Right here, you can see we are talking the first 54-degree wedge, and that is going to be the Ping S159 54-degree with the I2 kind of grind on it. So it's got that high toe. So what I was looking for here was simply a club that was going to go about 85, 90 yards, 75 to 90 yards, somewhere there consistently. And so you'll see me here. I'm going to take a couple of shots. We'll hit a couple and kind of see some of the results here. It's kind of early on with this Ping I2. My first initial thoughts were I kind of like the high toe. The silver finish I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I did kind of like the way it looked. The high toe was really nice. And the performance with this has been really good throughout the entire time that I've had it, and I've had it a couple of months now. Now, with this, Ping isn't exactly known for the best feeling clubs, and it was no different with these wedges. The S159, I've always thought it felt pretty good, but it was a surprise whenever I got the next club in my hand. And that next club was the RTZ from Cleveland. Check out my review of it. I'll kind of link it up here in the corner. But, initially looking at this club, in the store it looked great. Behind the ball it looked great. And the thing that when I reviewed it I was kind of surprised by doing this was how good this felt. I guess I never really hit it up against something that may not feel as good, as crazy as that sounds. This thing felt so good and looked really, really good behind the ball. It's kind of funny when you kind of lay everything out and look at it side by side with something else, you realize just how good this RTZ was. And this RTZ did an absolutely incredible job on the testing here, and you'll see that in the results here in a second. So let's actually take a look at these results. On top is going to be the Ping, on the bottom is going to be the Cleveland. And the first thing I kind of noticed is the ball speed difference. You got 2.5 degrees there. But I also noticed how much higher that Cleveland was flying, right? Launched higher, had a little bit less spin. The side angle, while it was a little bit more on the side angle, what you'll notice is that standard deviation, it was much more consistent. You got 4 more yards of carry out of it, and that can kind of be a big thing for a lot of golfers, me included in that. So just in terms of consistency, you can see it right there in the carry distance, standard deviation, the total distance. just everything seemed to be a little bit more consistent with that Cleveland over the ping, so I went with the Cleveland. All right, so after spending some time in the sim and kind of deciding what I was going to go with, here are some of my final results with it. I said I really wanted to work on my gapping here, have 10, 15-yard gaps, and make sure that I was consistent throughout everything. And, buddy, you can't ask for much more than these results. With the pitching wedge, we carried on average 122. With the 50-degree muscle back, we went 109. With the 54-degree Cleveland, we went 94. About 15-yard degree differences there. The only weird thing is the fact that the 50-degree launched higher than the 54. That's something I'll kind of want to take a look at. But overall, it's really not a bad thing to see your gapping look like this. Those circles are touching, they overlap a little bit. They're all pretty much down the middle. That 54 is a little bit out to the right, which is to be expected for me with my 54 degrees. So overall, off the simulator, this looks like it's probably going to be the setup here, but still want to hit them off grass and kind of confirm everything that I was feeling in the simulator. Since, we play golf outside, we want to make sure we're testing these clubs outside as well. First thing we're going to hit, CBX 50 degree. Kind of hit a couple of practice shots with it, but we're going to see how it does out here. Biggest thing we're looking for is feel, turf interaction, and some ball flight. Not exactly distance and that kind of stuff, but ball flight, see what we like. There we go. Okay. First shot. First good shot. A little clicky. Not the softest feeling wedge in the world. I'm also hitting range balls, so, there's that. Okay, a little bit thinner. More clippy. Okay. So, terrible performance so far. Okay. Pulled it a little short. We're gonna try its muscle back brethren. I like this on the simulator a little bit more, just because it went a little bit further, more consistently. We didn't have those big high pop-ups kind of shots. So let's see how it does here. Okay. Pulled it, but love that shot. Okay. For 54 degree wedges, in the simulator, I like the Cleveland a little bit more than the ping. Both were really good options, but yeah, the Cleveland won there. Let's see how they do with these kind of 3/4 half swings in terms of feel, turf interaction, things like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. I gotta tell you something though. These don't feel very good. This ping does not feel like my favorite club in the world. That one was pretty good though. But if it's gonna perform like that, who cares how it feels, honestly? What a wedge. What a wedge. This thing's great. Moved back right here to the Cleveland. It is so short. How was I getting these numbers on the simulator? Kind of concerns me a little bit. The last couple of months, I found what I thought is probably the best 58 degree, and that is the new high toe from TaylorMade. It's really freaking good. But I have a little ace in the hole, something a little unique that you won't be able to find anywhere else, but it's something kind of fun. It's this very, very ugly 58 degree wedge. This was given to me by a company raw. And so what I did is I went in
I found a wedge that I liked, and I tried to copy its grind. And I got to grind this thing myself, so I'll never get rid of it. But it is pretty cool. But you can see it is definitely a guy with a grinding wheel, um, with an angle grinder, really just trying to hit some cool stuff, just kind of playing around. But I had it in the bag. I said, if we're gonna do this, let's do it right. Let's do a crazy test again with this thing. I mean, the shaft in it is some random shaft that I found, a pitching wedge shaft. It, I did such a bad job of grinding it. I made the neck too narrow, so like the ferrule doesn't fit. Um, but yeah, it kind of suits my eye a little bit because I get to decide how it goes. There are definitely some imperfections with it, but okay. So let's move over to this club that I've said you're gonna have to pry out of my cold dead hands with this tailor-made high toe. All right, first one, pretty good.
After all that testing and looking at how I use the club, all of that, what did I end up with? Well, to start things off, we started with the 50 degree. Now, the 50 degree was between the CBX and the RTZ, or the RTX 6 wedge, the more muscle back blade style versus the cavity back style. I actually went with the RTX 6, the muscle back, in that. Thought it did great around the greens. And again, with my 50 degree, I use more of it for a full swing, and I really like the numbers with it a little bit more. Felt like I was hitting that CBX a little too high, a little too spinny. Gonna go with that muscle back there. Now, for the 54, that's where things got a little interesting, right? Just kind of looking at the raw numbers in the simulator, it was definitely leaning towards the RTZ. But then out on the turf, I think that the ping barely edged it out on those three-quarter swings. So what did I go with? Well, to be honest with you, the looks, the feel, and the performance of the RTZ were better in terms of how I use that club, more so than the ping was. I think the RTZ was a little bit more consistent. The ping would go really far or it would go kind of short. Felt a little bit better hitting that RTZ. Plus, just when it's tight like that, you kind of have to really think about the small things. Which one do you like the look of more? Definitely was the Cleveland there. Which one did I like the feel of? Definitely the Cleveland there as well. So on tiebreaker things, the looks and the feel work a little bit more towards the Cleveland. So we are going with the Cleveland there. And then with the 58, we are going with that TaylorMade high toe. I love the look of it. The grind, I played it perfectly. Got the ATC grind, much more for small divots, people who more clip the ball. That's more me. I don't need that. I don't need a lot of bounce. I do a good job of opening up the club face, keeping the hands in front of it, and not chunking the ball too badly. I do a good job of using the bounce. So that is the wedge lineup: RTX 6 in the 50 degree, RTZ with the 54 degree, and then we are going with that TaylorMade high toe. So the bottom of the bag is set. All we have to do to complete the bottom of the bag is the putter, and that is our next video. I look forward to sharing it with you. Like and subscribe. Hit them straight.